Welcome, everybody. Tom Judd here from the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance. So happy to be working with Pan-Africa's clinical engineering and biomedical engineering leaders. Of course, clinical engineers and biomedical engineers often seen as the same. Biomedical engineers who serve at the point of care are seen by WHO as clinical engineers, so hopefully no confusion. And we have a wonderful cast of presenters today and a great faculty. Maybe I'll slow down for a moment. And Emily, you want to repeat in French? However.
Oui, bonjour à tous, bienvenue sur ce webinaire donc, qui est organisé par la Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, la GCEA, donc qui travaille avec des responsables biomédicaux partout dans le monde, ingénieurs et techniciens. Voilà, donc on a un très beau panel aujourd'hui d'intervenants.
Perfect. So our speakers are going to be Clarice from Humatem. You'll meet in a moment, and Ashnafi from Ethiopia, a key leader for Africa in our field. Dr. Mayombe Edison, currently in Chad, WHO individual, also a doctorate in engineering and a key physician, clinical engineer, and Millicent Alou, friend to many of you from Kenya, but serving across multiple countries. And I have with me Maladen Paluta from South Africa, certainly a key leader, often with us from Mexico, Fabiola Martinez, the chair of IFMB Clinical Engineering Division, and Emily Duran that you've already heard today. Emily, maybe one more time. So we're delighted to be able to present this webinar in English and French.
Donc les présentateurs aujourd'hui seront Clarisse Delastre de l'ONG française Humatem, Ashenafi Hussein, pardon, j'ai un... Sorry.
Ethiopia, yeah.
D'Éthiopie, pardon. Ingénieur biomédical d'Éthiopie. Edison Maombi, qui est docteur en ingénierie biomédicale, qui est actuellement au Tchad pour l'OMS. Et Millicent Allo, qui est doctorante en ingénierie biomédicale du Kenya, mais qui travaille dans beaucoup de pays. Et donc, nous avons aussi Mladen Poluta d'Afrique du Sud, qui est un leader au niveau de l'ingénierie biomédicale sur le continent africain, et Fabiola Martinez, qui est la présidente de l'IFMBE, de la Clinical Engineering Division de l'IFMBE, donc la Fédération internationale d'ingénierie biomédicale.
So one more thing, Emily, people attending may want to know how to translate whatever language they're hearing into their favorite language. And so tell them about the captions at the bottom of the Zoom page here,
Donc,
please.
voilà, donc il y a un certain nombre Donc, il y a la présentation de Clarisse Delaspre sera en français aujourd'hui, et toutes les autres présentations seront faites plutôt en anglais. Donc, pour pouvoir avoir les sous-titres des présentations en anglais, on vous invite à paramétrer. Donc, en bas de la page, vous devez avoir soit directement affiché les sous-titres, soit dans le petit rond plus. Si vous cliquez, là, on doit vous proposer du coup afficher les sous-titres. Et donc, quand vous cliquez là-dessus, ils vont vous proposer quelle est la langue parlée, donc la langue de l'orateur. Donc là, vous choisissez anglais. Et ma langue de sous-titrage. Donc là, ben, vous choisissez votre langue préférée, français, portugais, si certains sont plutôt sur des pays lusophones. Ou, enfin voilà, en tout cas, la langue que vous préférez, il y a un certain nombre de choix pour pouvoir avoir du coup le sous-titrage en même temps que les présentations, et on espère que ça fonctionnera bien. Dans tous les cas, n'hésitez pas à mettre des questions dans le chat, et il y aura aussi un temps de questions-réponses à la fin du webinaire, donc vous pourrez aussi poser des questions dans votre langue, enfin si possible plutôt en français à ce moment-là. Merci.
Great, thank you so much. And I'll just remind folks at the bottom of the Zoom page, there's an opportunity to put their questions into the Q&A box. you can also put your thoughts into, of course, the chat, but ideally you would put questions that we will address at the end of these 4 case studies in the Q&A box. So with that, next slide. And by the way, this is just before I turn it over to Mladen to talk about this special issue of the Global Clinical Engineering Journal. I'll remind that GCEA, working with IFMB CED, has had several meetings across Africa, both French and English and Portuguese-speaking Africa over the past 2 years. We did have this big program on September 18th, where we talked about the value of clinical engineering, and this is on the GCEA website. We'll put the link in there so you can easily see it, where you can see the presentations that were made, and these are things you can hand on to your Minister of Health, whether you were able to attend on September 18th or not. So, Mladen?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So this is a great opportunity, I think, for all of us in the African region. For those of you who may not know, the Global Clinical Engineering Journal is now the top-ranked journal for our field globally. And that has been a result of hard work by our president, Yadin David, and others. So we invite you to submit to the special issue, hopefully not the first, of the Global Clinical Engineering Journal. I'll be focusing on the African region. Of course, Africa is large, 52 countries, but we will be focusing on the African region. And then to create greater focus, we will be focusing on the grand theme of maintenance, which itself has got so many dimensions. So we welcome you to share your research, your results, your views. I look forward to receiving your submissions, and Kali Roy will now take you through the process that you would need to go through if you wish to submit for this special issue. Thanks, Kali Roy.
Thank you, Mladen. At the homepage of Global Clinical Engineering Journal, which you will find on www.globalce.org, on the top right corner, as you can see in this red box, you can choose the button Make a Submission. Once you press that, you will be addressed into another page where you have different tabs to choose from. The first one, Submission, is offering here the submission preparation checklist. Just a few things that you will need before you submit. In order to make a new submission, you have to go on the top of that and press here, Make a New Submission. If you choose the second tab, then you may see on the author guidelines more documents than the author guidelines. Author guidelines are found here, but we have made a document with screenshots exactly with all the steps that you will need in order to complete your submission, in order to make it as easy as possible. Please note, when you submit a manuscript for a special issue, you need to add the special issue name above the title of your paper before you submit on your main Word file. Thank you. The floor is yours, Tom.
So, Dr. I'm waking up here eventually. Dr. Caleroy Stavriano is the secretariat, the global secretariat for GCEA, the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, and she's also the manager of the journal. And Caleroy, I know we've already had some submissions. We'd love to see, 20, 25 submissions. We have a handful already, and January 15th, as you saw, is the deadline. And this is to tell your stories and put your evidence about how you're making a difference in the maintenance area and all the related issues about maintenance that we'll talk about here in a moment to get them in front of the world. So today we are speaking about 4 case studies. Now, why did we choose maintenance? I think everybody has a good feel for that. And maybe before I proceed, Emily, you want to make some comments on what about I've said so far in French?
Sorry, sorry, I was writing in the chat. Um,
Or I can proceed.
yeah, yeah, I
That's
think
okay.
we're good.
That's okay. So there's many different ways to look at maintenance. And why did we choose maintenance? Because you told us we did a survey of the clinical engineering, biomedical engineering world uh, about 2 years ago now. And the key issue that came out of that for Africa and the other regions of the world was maintenance. I mean, it's one of the biggest challenges in our world. And so today we're looking at that from 4 perspectives, starting with Clarice from Humatem, who's this NGO out of France, of course, we know works all over the French-speaking world and particularly in Africa. And they've been developing, and I don't want to steal any of her thunder, this handbook for low resource settings. What if you don't have all the tools you need to get maintenance done? What are some of the pathways to get that done? And then followed by, well, we can't do all of our work on medical equipment in our organization, with the technicians and engineers that we have to have a hybrid model. And then quickly, what did our profession do during the pandemic that made a difference on the medical equipment, particularly related to the pandemic care? And then finally, of course, an issue that's true in every country of the world is how do we best handle maternal child health, and how does health technology contribute to solutions in those areas? So Calroy, next slide. I want to challenge the audience that's now growing and over 60 people or so. When you hear these presentations, think about maintenance in many different ways. By the way, there's a global international standard organization standard around asset management of, and it can be applied to medical devices. And so you can look that up. And I think it's just been revised this year, shown on the right-hand side of this slide, ISO 50001. But it looks at life cycle, but it talks about the elements needed in maintenance. We did do a small survey. Many of you took part a month or so ago in a survey of, in the medical equipment world, what are your biggest issues? Is it in the general equipment? Is it in imaging or lab or digital health or pandemic or maternal child health or surgery or safety and regulatory or anesthesia? And you can see the concerns, and many of these survey takers were from Africa. But there's 15 elements on the left. I won't go over them, but this is what fits into, and I'll put those 15 items in the chat. Look for those in the presentations that follow. And without further ado, I think, Calroy, we're ready to go with Clarice.
Thank you, sir. The first video will be in French. So for the English-speaking participants, please set the speaking language on the captions button to be English and then translated captions to be French. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The speaking language to be French and then translated captions to be English.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Clarisse Delastre, ingénieure biomédicale à l'ONG Humatem, et donc je vais vous présenter un recueil de procédures biomédicales que l'on vient de publier pour les structures de santé à ressources limitées. Donc Humatem est une ONG française de coopération biomédicale fondée en 1999. Elle est composée de 17 administrateurs, 4 salariés, appuyée par des bénévoles, des étudiants stagiaires. Elle a le statut d'ONG en relation officielle avec l'OMS depuis 2015 et l'objectif de l'association est d'améliorer l'accès aux technologies médicales et leur exploitation à travers différents volets d'activité. Donc on a une banque de dons de matériel médical, un centre de ressources, un volet d'échange et plaidoyer et un volet d'expertise et formation. Et donc, le recueil de procédures que je vais vous présenter s'inscrit en fait dans le centre de ressources qui vise à publier des documents méthodologiques, techniques disponibles pour tous que vous pouvez retrouver sur le site internet du Matem. Donc, Pour contextualiser le projet de ce recueil de procédures, il faut faire un état des lieux sur les ECME. Les ECME, c'est des équipements de contrôle, de mesure et d'essai, donc des testeurs et des simulateurs. Voilà, vous pouvez voir des exemples affichés à l'écran. Donc voilà, simulateur, testeur de sécurité électrique, testeur de défibrillateur, de ventilateur, voilà, de différentes marques. Et donc, il y a un constat voilà, de forte inégalité en fait, à l'accès à ces ECME entre les pays du Nord et les pays du Sud. Donc, notamment, les pays du Nord, les ECME sont généralement disponibles dans les services biomédicaux des hôpitaux depuis de nombreuses années, car ils permettent l'étalonnage et le contrôle qualité de différents appareils médicaux. Ils simplifient considérablement voilà, les procédures de test, de maintenance préventive, les diagnostics de panne, et ils permettent d'assurer, voilà, de s'assurer de suivre précisément la réglementation du pays. Dans les pays du Sud, les ECME sont très rares dans les services biomédicaux et ça a un impact direct sur la maintenance préventive et corrective. Donc il y a des pistes d'explication, donc notamment ces ECME ont des coûts élevés à l'achat. Les directions d'hôpitaux sont souvent peu sensibilisées à la nécessité de ces outils. Et donc, ces testeurs et simulateurs nécessitent donc déjà une formation pour leur utilisation, leur bonne utilisation. Mais il faut aussi donc les maintenir et les étalonner donc, chaque année. Et ça doit être effectué par des sociétés de métrologie qui sont peu souvent représentées dans la plupart des pays du Sud. Donc, il faut envoyer donc, ces ECME à l'étranger pour qu'ils soient étalonnés annuellement. Donc, ce recueil de procédures s'inscrit dans dans le projet réseau et partenariat hospitalier, PRPH3, qui a été mené en partenariat avec l'Association française des ingénieurs biomédicaux, qui nous ont appuyés directement sur ce projet, et la Fédération hospitalière de France, la FHF. Les bailleurs principaux sont l'AFD et la région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes. Donc l'objectif principal de ce recueil, c'était d'élaborer un manuel de procédures dites alternatives pour faire de la maintenance préventive et un contrôle de constance pour les techniciens biomédicaux qui travaillent dans des structures de santé à ressources limitées, en proposant des solutions qui vont être faciles à utiliser, peu coûteuses et qualitatives pour évaluer au minimum la fonctionnalité des équipements médicaux. Et donc, il y a d'autres bénéficiaires potentiels comme voilà, les organisations internationales, ONG médicales, instituts de formation. Donc, la méthode, ça a été donc de créer un groupe de travail avec différents partenaires pour déjà qu'ils puissent partager leurs expériences et élaborer et harmoniser ensemble ces procédures pour produire un recueil. Donc, on a eu l'occasion de développer des premières procédures dans le cadre du projet Jenga Marifa 2, qui a été piloté par Humatem en partenariat avec deux ONG belges, Médecins sans vacances et ULB Coopération. Donc, il y a eu 16 fiches de développées avec différents formats. Donc, il y en a des procédures qui sont écrites, il y en a des tutoriels vidéo. Donc, vous pouvez les retrouver voilà, sur la chaîne YouTube Jenga Marifa sur le QR code. Et donc ces fiches, on a pu développer donc, des procédures de maintenance préventive, mais aussi des protocoles d'entretien et d'utilisation des dispositifs médicaux. Et ils sont présents donc dans le recueil actuellement. Ça a permis aussi d'observer certaines limites, le fait de développer ces fiches-là. Donc il y a des équipements qui, lors des tests, en fait, nécessitent certains appareils de test, comme par exemple le concentrateur d'oxygène qui va nécessiter un analyseur d'oxygène car les méthodes alternatives sont soit trop coûteuses, soit trop complexes à mettre en place. La réglementation aussi est impossible en fait pour produire des procédures qui vont être conformes aux réglementations et normes, par exemple européennes et françaises. Et aussi l'accessibilité de certaines procédures qui nécessitent un niveau requis pour utiliser ces procédures. Donc ça, c'est très important, car il faut voilà, des connaissances techniques et en santé pour les utiliser dans un bon cadre. Donc c'était en fait de produire des procédures et des protocoles qui vont trouver un bon équilibre entre des solutions qui vont être simples, peu onéreuses, sécurisées, fiables, qualitatives, et avec peu d'équipements de test. Donc le groupe de travail qui a directement travaillé sur ce recueil-là, c'est composé donc de 2 ONG, donc l'UMATEM et Médecins sans frontières, 2 associations professionnelles biomédicales françaises, donc l'AFIB dont je vous parlais précédemment et l'AAMB, l'Association des agents de maintenance biomédicale, et aussi 4 instituts de formation, donc l'ISEN de Brest, Polytech Marseille, le lycée professionnel du Mont-Blanc à Salanches et plus récemment le master d'ingénierie biomédicale de l'Université de Lorraine. Au niveau du format de recueil et donc notamment la méthode de travail, donc ça a consisté dans un premier temps en fait à collecter de la ressource documentaire technique, de faire des réunions en fait avec ces experts que j'ai cités juste avant, d'élaborer des prototypes de ces testeurs qu'on a appelés donc testeurs et simulateurs low-tech, et donc de tester ces procédures directement en atelier pour en fait voir leur fonctionnalité et permettre leur amélioration. Donc ensuite, on a rédigé, synthétisé, mis en forme ces procédures pour voilà, former le recueil juste à côté. Et on a pu déjà aussi utiliser ces procédures lors de formations biomédicales. Donc là, vous avez aussi l'exemple d'une formation à Dakar, où les techniciens ont pu fabriquer voilà, des testeurs de bistouri électrique. Et dans le recueil, on retrouve donc 5 types de documents. Donc on a ces procédures de maintenance préventive, mais en fait, on a essayé de le rendre le plus complet possible, notamment en mettant donc des fiches de fabrication donc de testeurs et simulateurs low-tech qui sont nécessaires aux procédures de maintenance préventive, mais aussi donc des fiches de vérification de la qualité des infrastructures de santé, donc voilà la sécurité électrique du bâtiment, la gestion des bouteilles à oxygène, des fiches de gestion d'un service biomédical, comme la mise en place d'un planning de maintenance, et des protocoles d'entretien et d'utilisation des dispositifs médicaux. Alors, je vais vous donner des exemples un peu plus concrets. Euh, donc, sur le bistouri électrique, voilà, donc ça c'est, en fait, on va commencer donc déjà par la procédure de fabrication du testeur low-tech. Donc ça, c'est une procédure qui va nécessiter un testeur low-tech qu'on appelait le kit lamp. Donc ça a été basé sur une idée originale de Jo Le Duby. Donc dans cette procédure, on va retrouver donc, le schéma électrique, donc kit lampe parce qu'il nécessite 3 lampes halogènes, avec tous les détails pour la fabrication de ce testeur, et aussi des abacs pour pouvoir l'utiliser lors de la procédure. Donc ce testeur s'est amélioré aussi au fur et à mesure du temps, donc maintenant on utilise aussi voilà, des boîtes de dérivation, des fiches pour pouvoir le fabriquer et le rendre en fait voilà, sous ce format-là. Puis ensuite, on a aussi donc, pour l'utilisation de ce testeur, la procédure de contrôle de constance. Donc là, c'est une vidéo, donc on a pu faire un tutoriel vidéo que vous pouvez retrouver donc, aussi pareil sur le QR code ci-dessous. Donc je vais lancer la vidéo en même temps que je parle, juste pour vous montrer en fait, la manière de procéder pour utiliser ce testeur. Donc, le matériel nécessaire pour cette procédure, on a besoin d'une boîte à déca, d'un multimètre, de notre testeur low-tech, le kit lamp. Donc là, c'est dans sa première version. Donc, on va brancher la pièce à main à notre testeur et donc la plaque patient. Et on va vérifier l'activation de la puissance aux différents modes du bistouri électrique et les courants de fuite en activant la puissance à une certaine puissance. On vient vérifier voilà, l'activation donc, des lampes et récupérer la tension. Et grâce aux abacs, on va pouvoir en fait avoir une correspondance entre la tension mesurée et la puissance. Et on va pouvoir vérifier que ça rentre bien dans notre plage de mesure. Ensuite, je vais vous parler donc de l'échographe. Voilà, c'est aussi une procédure qu'on a développée, notamment sur la fabrication du testeur, donc, qui est un testeur, donc un fantôme d'échographie. C'est basé sur une idée originale donc, de Daniel Vininger et de Maurice Page. Donc, il se compose voilà, de plaques de plexiglas, de fils en nylon, d'huile de ricin. Donc, on a tout un schéma de fabrication et un processus de fabrication aussi. Donc, on a eu plusieurs prototypes. Et donc, l'idée d'amélioration, la dernière idée d'amélioration, c'est de faire une fabrication professionnelle des plaques en plexiglas qui nécessitent en fait certains équipements de pointe pour les fabriquer, pour que voilà, ça soit précis et sans fuite surtout. Donc voilà, donc, je vais vous montrer ensuite par l'utilisation comment ça fonctionne. Donc là, vous avez la photo donc du test du premier prototype de ce fantôme donc à notre atelier. Donc pour le contrôle de constance de l'échographe, donc on a besoin d'une pièce de monnaie ou d'un trombone et de ce fantôme d'échographie low-tech. Et donc en plongeant la sonde à la surface de cette cuve remplie d'huile de ricin avec notre schéma de fil en nylon, on va pouvoir évaluer différents paramètres, donc notamment voilà, afficher euh, à l'écran de notre échographe et pouvoir évaluer la résolution axiale, latérale, l'épaisseur du faisceau. Et là, dans l'exemple que l'on a donc avec la sonde courbe juste après, on peut voir aussi donc, la profondeur maximale de perception avec les différents réseaux affichés. Pour compléter voilà, ces procédures-là, on a aussi des protocoles d'entretien et d'utilisation des dispositifs médicaux. Donc, c'est souvent des supports pédagogiques qui vont être à destination des professionnels biomédicaux pour former les soignants. Donc, par exemple, on a une fiche de gestion voilà, pour montrer les précautions liées à l'utilisation de l'échographe, le rappel des différents modes. Et on a une autre fiche pour présenter les différents artefacts pour repérer les erreurs et les anomalies dans les images échographiques. Donc ça vient compléter euh, voilà, tout ce qui va se retrouver autour de l'échographe dans ce recueil. Pour le recueil, donc les prochaines étapes, donc on le publie officiellement ce mois-ci, donc en décembre 2024, et on va le diffuser voilà, via différents canaux de communication. En janvier 2025, on souhaite organiser un webinaire de lancement du recueil avec une présentation détaillée et des interventions des différents acteurs voilà, qui ont pu participer à la publication de ce recueil. Et on va aussi voilà, participer à des publications d'articles dans des revues spécialisées à ce sujet. À moyen et long terme, on souhaite vraiment élargir le groupe de travail avec de nouvelles ressources humaines afin de voilà, finaliser l'élaboration de certaines procédures ou alors de poursuivre l'élaboration voilà, des procédures qui sont en cours de réalisation car on travaille encore dessus. On est toujours ouvert au retour suite à l'utilisation de ces procédures et de ce recueil dans une logique vraiment d'amélioration continue pour pouvoir ensuite publier une deuxième version. On aimerait beaucoup traduire ce recueil en anglais et en notre langue, si possible, et aussi mobiliser des financements pour réaliser le tournage de tutoriels vidéo voilà, qu'on a pu effectuer, comme par exemple dans le projet Jenga Marifado. Donc vous pouvez retrouver sur le QR code suivant le recueil de procédures biomédicales disponible donc, sur notre site internet dans le centre de ressources. Pour rappel, c'est un recueil qui se retrouve vraiment voilà, par type de dispositifs médicaux, mais qui n'est pas marque modèle dépendant. C'est vraiment à destination donc, des structures de santé à ressources limitées qui n'ont pas accès donc, aux ECME. Et on prévient que voilà, la mise en garde est faite que le public qui va donc utiliser, mettre en place ces procédures, doit être formé à la maintenance des équipements biomédicaux. Donc, je vous remercie pour votre attention. Vous avez donc les adresses mail ci-dessous si vous souhaitez nous joindre et l'adresse voilà, de notre site internet. Merci.
Thanks, Clarice, and thanks, Calroy, for teeing up a recording, but the speakers are also here live. I think many of you figured that out. So Emily from Humantem, their international projects leader, there's a lot of work that's gone into this handbook and that's been described by Clarice. Clarice, can you talk just for a moment about it in English, some of the process? We've got the time today.
Okay, so this project has been funded by the French Hospital Federation and the region Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, where Humatem is based, and also other actors like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs during a project that we led in DRC in 2020-2023. So it's a project that means to develop a handbook of alternative procedures, biomedical procedures for low resource settings. So we set up a working group, a task force to develop those procedures with people from French biomedical associations, AFIB and AMB, from Doctors Without Borders, biomedical engineers from Doctors Without Borders. And we also partnered with universities, French universities. We welcomed during this project, we had three interns that worked with us on this project also. And I think one of them is here with us, Shema Abdellah from Chad. She worked on this project also. So today we are publishing this handbook. This is the first time we get to talk about it because it's been finalized in November, so we publish it today. It is meant to grow and to improve. So we are publishing it, and we will be happy to have your views on this handbook also, to improve it again and again. And in the next years, we will hopefully welcome more contributors to this handbook, to develop this handbook, to develop new procedures on other medical devices, and also we hope to translate it in other languages for countries that would also need such procedures. And we are looking forward also to shoot the videos as we've done already for some of them, to shoot the tutorial videos that go with these procedures. So there are 5 types of procedures: preventive maintenance, so biomedical preventive maintenance procedures, procedures to build the testers, the low-tech testers that goes with the procedures, protocols for users to maintain and take care of the medical equipment. Also procedures to check the quality of the infrastructures. And the last one, sorry, I'm missing the 5th type of procedure right now. But we will be happy to receive your questions by email or in the chat here. So don't hesitate to ask questions. Clarisse has been working a lot on this project, so she'll be happy, I think, to answer all your questions. Thank you.
Emily, how can people get access to the handbook?
I've just sent the link on the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Any quick questions from the audience? Juan, I know you've had your hand up. We'll enable you to speak. Juan Manuel Munoz. And of course, people can put their questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, just to answer that, there is no English version for now for the handbook, but we plan to do it maybe like in the future.
Many of you know that a related document from AAMI in the US, though, that has an international presence, was their 2021 benchmarking around maintenance, really around all the indicators around clinical engineering and maintenance and biomedical engineering in this setting. And that has been translated into 5 languages so far, and 5 more to come on the GCEA website. So more to come on that. So maybe why I get off on that related topic is that, GCEA and CED can perhaps help UMATM, as needed to translate some things back into English as well. So we can talk about that. So we're back to, one approach for maintenance, though, is to do what UMATM has done with many French-speaking partners in Africa. Another approach is hybrid maintenance. And so we're going to tee up Ashnafi Hussein from Ethiopia, who's a leader across sub-Saharan Africa for clinical engineering, to talk about that very practical approach. So, Calroy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashnafi Hussein. I'm currently the chair for Working Group on African Activity of PMBA and the interim chair for Africa region. And then I'm also working as a team of the Pan-Africa GCEA team. And I want to thank GCEA for organizing this wonderful webinars on critical issue of maintenance. And I'm going to present about a hybrid model of medical device maintenance of in-house and outsourcing in Africa. So at the background, many African countries, they cannot afford to procure medical device every year or each time the device is broken. So maintenance has to be a critically a way to go about medical device. So most of the maintenance problems in Africa through time, they are complex, and many recommendations that we have gone through are also complex. I have an experience of more than 10 years on this area. So what we have observed is, the new graduates of biomedical or clinical engineers who are just graduating from the university or from the college, they are just thrown to do a maintenance without having any proper training or any kind of available workshops or toolkits or spare parts. And it's a very big concern for the professionals. So this maintenance issue it's an unsolved problem for a long, long time in Africa. So as a technique or as a science, medical device maintenance is classified in many ways. Some of them classified as planned and unplanned, and the others can also classified as, design on maintenance, preventive, corrective, or under preventive. We can have a condition-based, systematic maintenance, predictive, time-based, risk-based, many ways of, classifying maintenance. But how many of these maintenance types or ways can be done with in-house professionals or in-house capacity, and how many of them can be done with outsourcing? So there are critical issues that we have to see from the experience that we have and from the knowledge that we have obtained with experience. There are some key aspects or some key issues which are only found with manufacturers or highly found with manufacturers or companies. For example, system updates of some high-tech devices or computerized medical devices, upgrades, design-related corrections, some key spare parts, or manufacturer calibration, testing, with safety, precision, accuracy for high-tech or capital items. And they have also service manuals, and they also have, the companies have also a well-trained specialized technicians or engineers for specific device. For example, if we take a radiotherapy machine, they have a specialized engineers for that specific device, which we don't usually found with in-house capacity. And to train all professionals who are working in that specific health facility for each model or for each brand or for each medical device, it's unrealistic. The permutation of training for each medical device and all professionals every time is unrealistic. Having many health facility, it's going to be difficult. And most graduates, they don't get skill training or the practical training from the universities. They get the theory, the research aspect of biomedical engineering or clinical engineering. So to give a huge responsibility for in-house capacity, to do maintenance right away from their graduation, is going to be very, very difficult. So in the paper, as a methodology, we're just taking sampling techniques for the results of in-house and outsourcing method of maintenance for devices. For each device, depending on the parameters that I'm going to present next, we're going to get a comparative results of these medical devices. And currently, there are two ways of maintenance ways, either with in-house or outsourcing. So there is a third method of maintenance, which is a hybrid model of maintenance for medical devices. So different parameters can be given different values for this parameters, and we can also add different parameters depending on frequency of maintenance, the type of maintenance required. Is it a preventive or is it a corrective? Depending on skill and training, depending on budget availability, performance evaluation, calibration, cost effectiveness, functionality, precision, accuracy. For example, one capital item, the preventive part of the maintenance can be done with in-house engineers or technicians. And when it comes to corrective part of the maintenance, it could be done with outsourcing. So it's going to be a hybrid way of doing it. But before that's taking that decision, all these parameters will be evaluated, and depending on the sampling, it will be done based on the results obtained from this analysis. For the conclusion, basic medical devices can be done by in-house service engineers, maintenance engineers, but when it comes to high-tech medical devices and advanced part of medical device maintenance, it's highly advisable if it's done with a company or manufacturer. So with this hybrid in-house outsourcing maintenance approach, it's highly recommended, especially with the problem that we're facing with availability of infrastructure, network connection, technology advancement, and we believe it's good to have this hybrid model for maintenance approach, because one way of maintenance approach cannot replace the other way of maintenance approach. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you so much. Thank you, GCEA, and I wish you a wonderful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashnafi. Great work, and entirely reality. I mean, I started clinical engineering, a program in a hospital a few years ago, maybe 45. But this is exactly the approach that we did. We grew our capability to do in-house work, of course, but then we contracted outside, but then over time took over more and more of the outside as we gained skills and were able to get investment in our program. So this is the approach, and Ashnafi is a great resource for you to go to, and we'll make sure emails are available for questions. I know there's several things that have come in over the Q&A chat. Emily, do you want to respond to a couple of them?
Yeah, maybe to respond to, I think it's David.
Yeah, I'm calling him David K to make it easy on you.
David K, yeah. So the question of having on board the administration of hospitals is also it's a very big challenge in the projects where we work. It's indeed something that's very important. And so we've been working on this question with our partners, different partners, for several years already. We organize and we take part in small seminars or bigger congresses that gathers decision makers, people from ministries, from hospital directions, hospital directors, hospitals, economic, people from the finance department in hospitals, to get them on board, to have them to have them known what is biomedical engineering, what do biomedical engineers and technicians, and why it is important to train them, to recruit more of them, to train them, to give them the means and tools they need to work, to also pass contract, as Ashnafi just said, for also external maintenance with the builders and manufacturers, because they have also a competence that is not something that can be done in-house. So we've been working. So these last years, for 2-3 years now, we've been working more specifically with the French network, which is called RESAOC, which is a network with whom we've organized the Benin Congress last year. And so it's a network of hospitals directors of hospitals. So mainly hospitals directors, but also people from ministries. And we've been working a lot with them on different types of actions. So the Congress in Cotonou in Benin last year for two days. They've been hearing for 2 days about biomedical engineering, biomedical maintenance. And I believe that at the end of those 2 days, they knew a lot more. They really realized why it is important to invest in this. And this year we've invited a delegation of RESAOC in France to tour different types of biomedical structures, so hospitals, biomedical departments in hospitals, biomedical manufacturers, universities with biomedical branch. And yeah, and so we'll keep working with them because we think we're sure that it is a good way to impact what is done in biomedical services departments in hospitals, and to improve the quality of maintenance and the quality of the biomedical equipment in hospitals. And I don't know if such a network exists in English-speaking countries in Africa, but it would be a good thing to also, yeah, broaden the work with also directors, hospital directors, and people from ministries of health, also in all African throughout Africa.
And Emily, GCA and CED are particularly working on this for English speaking, as well as cheering for you in the French speaking world. And so let's keep talking. And when I say that, I mean, you're working very closely with WHO and Adriana Velasquez and Martha Tusabi and Mohammed Wibi and in Afro and IMRO for WHO, and so are CED and GCA. We're working very closely with Adriana on these issues. David from Dalton Foundation, which has done wonderful work for many years in Haiti and also in Africa, but particularly now in Nigeria, is talking about, being able to help with some of the circuit board issues, for the low resource test equipment. So we'll make sure that you two get connected to follow up on that related to your handbook. Let's see, there's one other question perhaps right now. Let's see. It was about technovigilance, but any faculty member that may want to speak up, I'll shut up.
If I may, hello?
Please, Fabiola, we hear you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good day, everyone. Yeah, it's very interesting, this question regarding the lack of budget into the biomedical engineering departments, because I think most of us have suffered this issue in the beginning of the development of our departments. And what it worked for us, it was to, as David said, a package of management plan, but beginning by emulate the W2 priority medical devices to list the priority maintenance tools that we can identify in order to find ways to get the budget to acquire them, to buy them. And in one hand, and in the other hand, to see, as in the presentation was shown, how we can develop a very first version of the circuits of the systems that can help us to do the maintenance, because most of the cases we can find ways to realize that, to develop, that procedures of maintenance without many sophisticated technology. The problem is that some of the devices to test equipments has been very, very complex and high cost. So one other thing that we can do together is helping on this list of devices and in certain way to make presence into the industry, the testing device, to see what important, how important is to introduce these products in an affordable way in several regions, no? And Latin America also has this problem, and I think if we can work it together, we can benefit on this. So, and the other point is uh, to see the movement that it's very important lately in the last years, and it's called the right to repair, because sometimes we can have the talent, we can have the tools, but we don't have the manuals to do the procedure. So, and I think if we can adhere to these initiatives and actively work with the industry path, we can get some interesting results that benefit these regions. So I support Tom's comment that from CED, together with Global Alliance and other institutions, we can work into this regard. Thanks.
Any other faculty comments at this point, or we can continue?
Yes, Tom, if I may.
Please.
Oui. Yes. So our French-speaking participants were asking if we could translate what was just said before.
Please.
Yeah, ok. Oui, alors rebonjour du coup en français. Il y avait des demandes là par rapport à ce qui a été dit plus tôt, du coup en anglais. Donc c'était Stevens hein, et Arnaud aussi, je pense. Donc je pense que vous avez suivi la présentation peut-être d'Ashenafi Hussein qui parlait de l'intérêt d'avoir une maintenance hybride, à la fois internalisée et externalisée, qui paraissait être du coup un bon modèle pour les pays africains et notamment pour les pays ou les lieux où il y a des ressources vraiment limitées. Et après, du coup, j'ai pris la parole tout à l'heure là, pour répondre à une remarque de David K. Donc Koadja, qui soulignait l'importance en fait de sensibiliser aussi les décideurs, les directeurs d'hôpitaux qui parfois sont des médecins et ne sont pas suffisamment sensibilisés à ces enjeux de la maintenance biomédicale. Donc voilà, qui posait la question de savoir comment est-ce qu'on pouvait régler cette question. Et donc j'ai cité ce que la plupart d'entre vous, je pense, qui participent là, qui sont francophones, savent, notamment les partenariats qui ont été faits entre... Enfin, Humatem a participé à un certain nombre de congrès, de conférences, de colloques, justement pour les décideurs de santé. En partenariat d'ailleurs avec certains d'entre vous, vous avez participé comme intervenant sur un grand nombre de ces colloques et de ces congrès, donc notamment organisés par Médecins sans vacances au Burundi, en RDC, voilà, et donc tout le travail aussi qu'on fait là depuis 2-3 ans maintenant avec le RESAOC, qui est donc un réseau d'hôpitaux, principalement représenté par des directeurs d'hôpitaux, mais qui regroupe aussi des personnes qui sont présentes plutôt dans les ministères de santé. Donc le travail qu'Humatem et puis aussi avec un grand nombre de partenaires, ce qu'on fait donc ensemble avec le RESAOC, c'est justement de sensibiliser sur ces questions de gestion et de maintenance des équipements médicaux les membres du RESAOC qui eux-mêmes ont un impact dans leur pays, dans leur structure de santé. Et en allant vraiment très concrètement, donc le colloque de Cotonou l'année dernière, les journées biomédicales du RESAOC, on a parlé pendant 2 jours complets de ces questions de gestion et de maintenance des équipements. Donc je pense qu'on avait près de 400 participants et donc beaucoup de directeurs d'hôpitaux, de gestionnaires économiques des hôpitaux qui ont vraiment été sensibilisés à l'importance de ces questions-là et qui, j'espère, du coup, peuvent faire bouger un petit peu les choses depuis. Mais c'est vrai que tout ça, c'est un travail de longue haleine, hein, de toute façon, à continuer. Cette année, on a fait venir une délégation du RESAOC en France pour faire un tour, en fait, de visite d'hôpitaux, donc de services biomédicaux hospitaliers en France, d'universités qui ont des filières de formation biomédicale. On a rencontré aussi des fabricants d'équipements médicaux. Donc, il y a pu y avoir un échange aussi, remonter les problèmes que rencontraient les hôpitaux représentés par le RESAOC. Voilà, donc c'est des petites choses qu'on fait, mais c'est sûr que c'est un enjeu très important d'embarquer du coup les responsables, les décideurs en haut pour que ça puisse aussi pour épauler hein, les ingénieurs et les techniciens qui essayent de mieux faire connaître leur métier et reconnaître et faire avancer les choses pour obtenir aussi plus de moyens. Voilà. Et puis juste avant, Fabiola Martinez a parlé du coup aussi de peut-être définir des listes d'équipements prioritaires ou de testeurs aussi qui seraient prioritaires et essayer tous ensemble, en se mettant tous ensemble, de faire pression aussi sur les industriels, comme ça a été fait a priori plutôt en Amérique centrale, en Amérique du Sud, pour essayer de faire baisser aussi les prix, de rendre plus accessibles des équipements qui seraient considérés comme vraiment prioritaires. Voilà, petit à petit pour essayer de gagner du terrain et de donner les moyens aux biomédicaux. Merci.
Emily, you have an incredible mind and memory. Let's proceed. We're scheduled for about 75 minutes. We may go a little over because we got these great questions, but let's go on to Dr. Mayombe's presentation. Calroy, thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Maombi Edison. I'm from Congo. I'm a physician and biomedical engineer. Thank you so much for inviting me for this wonderful webinar, which is presenting some case studies for medical equipment maintenance in Africa. So today I will be presenting you the functionality of oxygen concentrators in DRC hospitals and their maintenance strategy to increase oxygen access in Chad during COVID-19 pandemic. So in DRC, we had a team of colleagues, researchers, with whom we did these studies in DRC. Their names are there and their organizations. Also, in Chad, we did this with the WR. As you know, the lack of medical oxygen has contributed to a large number of fatalities globally, which have escalated as the result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So at the starting of the pandemic, one of the major challenges that almost all the countries faced was access to oxygen to treat their patients who were often doomed to certain death in the absence of this product. And the North Kivu province of DRC faced a high prevalence of hypoxemia disease, requiring the use of oxygen concentrators during COVID-19. And to contribute to this response effort, we surveyed managerial and maintenance personnel and removed parameters on the operation of oxygen concentrators from 31 hospitals handling COVID-19 cases in North Kivu province. And coming to the Chad country, so Chad had a total of 2 oxygen production plants, and all were installed in Jamena with a low production capacity to meet the high demand. And oxygen concentrators, which are an appropriate and attractive way to administering oxygen in healthcare facilities, were not sufficient, and most of them were out of use due to the lack of proper preventive maintenance. And while working on the increase of PSA plant in the country, through WHO, which coordinated the response, a strategy of repairing broken oxygen concentrators and on-site training of biomedical technicians was adopted. And this presentation describes the functionality of oxygen concentrators in 31 hospitals in the North Kivu province of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the presentation will also address the oxygen needs, how the oxygen needs were met in Chad with the help of an oxygen concentrator maintenance strategy during COVID-19. The goals of this project and final users are to share the result of a study made on the level of functionality of oxygen concentrators in North Kivu province during COVID-19, and also to share the experience of Chad in its effort to improve the availability of oxygen for the management of respiratory disease, and as well as the benefit and challenges to consider when planning for increased access to medical oxygen in similar settings. Beneficiaries are Ministry of Health in our region, Sub-Saharan region, and also Afro region, and actually also for clinical engineering, which are working in the same region. So coming to the result, for DRC study, a descriptive cross-sectional study surveyed managerial and maintenance personnel about the operation of oxygen concentrators in 31 hospitals handling COVID-19 cases in North Kivu. And the collected data was encoded and analyzed using SPSS version, SPSS software. And the oxygen concentrators consisted of 28 different brands in 65.8% of cases, and they had 5 liters capacity. They were used in 70% of cases across 4 departments, which are intensive care, operating rooms, emergency rooms, and internal medicine. They were donated in 66.2% of cases without accessory equipment in 33.6% of cases, and with no training for maintenance technicians in 3 out of 5 cases, or users in 1 out of 2 cases. And in 45% of cases, maintenance was provided, and in 67.6% of cases, oxygen concentrators were not functional, with impaired volume flow in 54.9% of cases, and oxygen level in 34.6% level, 34.6% of cases. And the oxygen deficit was variable depending on the type of hospital structures, but not the volume flow. So what we concluded from this study is that the low functionality of oxygen concentrators increased the patient risk and shows the interest of implementing a provincial strategy for the management and maintenance of biomedical equipment and its integration to regional health development plans. And coming to Chad, Chad, as I told at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lack of oxygen, and the country had only 2 PSA plants, which were installed in Jamena, and this was not easy to manage all COVID-19 cases, because Chad was one of the African countries which was having the death rate, the high death rate due to COVID-19. So Chad health systems has demonstrated resilience in terms of the availability of medical oxygen with the help of its partners, particularly the WHO, which coordinated the response. And several measures have been implemented, including the installation of new oxygen production plants and the strategy of repairing broken down oxygen concentrators, combined with the training of hospital maintenance professionals. A total of 103 service technicians from 23 provinces around the country underwent practical training and repairing oxygen concentrators, and 54 of 94 broken down oxygen concentrators were repaired during that strategy and implementation. And 4 maintenance pools regrouping technicians from the North, South, East, and West provincial hospitals were created and connected in WhatsApp groups so that they could assist each other during their day-to-day work. Now, I'm proud to say that the strategy we implemented now is giving more and more fruit, because now the country is able to maintain its oxygen concentrators in each provincial hospital. And the strategy, along with the increase of PSA plant numbers in the country, highly contributed and it is still contributing to the patient lives saving. And from this also we learned a lesson, which is a fact that properly maintained oxygen concentrators can provide a highly effective, low-cost, easy-to-use solution for health facilities in developing countries. So I took some pictures to show you how the ambience was there during the implementation of the strategy. You can see how the technicians was excited And we repaired so many concentrators. And on the other side, this picture, actually, I put this picture to show that to succeed, we need a combined effort. Because here we have the engineer from the health ministry. Whatever we did in partnership with the health ministry. And we have the engineer from the company which was supplying the oxygen equipment. And also I was there as a consultant from WHO. And my colleague, his name is Floristan, is also a biomedical engineer. So this combined team led us to have the good result. And here also you can see how some of the oxygen concentrators were founded in the hospitals. And you can see, I put 3 pictures showing at the beginning how the situation was during the repair and maintenance. And then after the maintenance, how actually this oxygen concentrator, you cannot recognize it here. But after this, we saved so many concentrators. And one more thing is that we provided oxygen analyzers so that all those technicians, after the training, before to use those oxygen concentrators on patient, they need first to check the purity of the oxygen. So this is a good strategy which worked very well in Chad. And actually in the African region, in many countries, they started implementing this strategy. So thank you so much. I think you enjoyed the presentation. And I'm there if there is any question or contribution or any suggestion. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Doctor. And hopefully there'll be some more comments and questions at the end. But let's proceed to our final presentation with Millicent Alou from Kenya, but serving in NEST 360 across several countries.
Hi, everyone. My name is Millicent Alou, a biomedical engineer working with NEST 360 program. Welcome to this webinar. Happy to take us through navigating away from medical device graveyards, work that is currently being done by NEST 360 in African countries to ensure that we reduce newborn mortality in various hospitals in Africa. Thank you. So I want to take us through a brief overview of NEST 360. So NEST 360 is essentially the newborn essential technologies. And we are an alliance of 17 organizations, 13 are in Africa, working with governments in 4 African countries to meet SDG 3.2 for newborn survival. And so we deliver a package of newborn health package, including the technology, education system, and investment-based care. So what have we been able to do in Africa to ensure that the biomedical engineers are able to keep up with the medical devices breakdown, and the biomedical engineers are able to ensure that the devices don't end up to graveyards? So currently, we have procured 23 technologies, 11 of which are the product categories, and 3,381 are devices delivered to all the countries. We have done quite a number of trainings for both clinicians and the biomedical engineers, and we've also established various skills labs. So we have 49 skills labs across all the 4 countries. We have trained 14,000 clinicians, and also over 1,000 biomedical engineers have been trained on our devices to ensure that there's proper usage and there's also proper planned preventive maintenance and the corrective maintenance. We've also ensured that we are maintaining 99% uptime for the NEST donated devices and 90% uptime for all the devices across the world. So in the product categories that we have been able to supply, when we visited various hospitals just when we were starting NEST 360 about 6-7 years ago, we found there were quite a number of devices that were in the graveyards. I know this is a site that is very familiar with so many people. And so we took it upon ourselves to ensure that we bring the biomedical engineers and make them understand how we can be able to eradicate the medical device graveyards. And one of the things that we really realized was the biggest problem is them management of different models of different devices. As you can see this photo, these are oxygen concentrators with various models. You can see only this photo has about 5 different models of oxygen concentrator. It becomes really very difficult for a biomedical engineer to maintain the spare parts, the accessories, and the consumables. And so we came up with, this is an example of a number of spare parts that are required and consumables required per device. You can see this is just MTTS Wallaby, and it has quite a number of spare parts. So if you have 5 such warming devices, different brands, you can only imagine how much of accessories and the spare parts you may need to keep. And at times, really, a number of times, it's really not feasible. And so that is why the biomedical engineers and even the facilities were unable to keep up with maintenance of the devices, and the devices ended up in the graveyards. So what did we do? We defined the devices, Nest 360 devices. We came up with a target product profile, whereby we were able to identify devices which are effective, affordable, rugged, and easy to use. And so the 8-step process of identification of these devices involved identifying the need of that particular medical device. Then you define the target product profile. And this is not only defining, it involves consensus from different experts. And then you identify the candidate technologies after agreeing with the experts. You do the evaluation, which involves a lot of desktop research. And then you select the ones that are likely to meet the target product profile. Then you do the technical testing in various labs that are already approved, and of course the environmental testing. Then you do the usability evaluation, and you finally settle on the device that you really want to select. So with that, we were able to come up with a bundle of devices. And so you realize that the devices that we actually supply are the devices that have already been tested, the devices that have already been have gone through the target product profile, and the devices that are rugged and easy to use in the low and middle income countries. So how has this been able to help us, especially in supporting the biomedical engineers? One of the things that we've really been able to work through, especially in procurement, we've been able to advocate and influence the policy making at the country levels. And so one of the things that we've really advocated for is ensuring that we have the device list by level of care. We have different levels of care, especially newborn care, as per the WHO guidelines, level 1, level 2, 2A, level 2B, and level 3. We've also been able to advocate for clinical guidelines, device and diagnostics. Of course, we've been able to really advocate for device to bed ratios, procurement policies, which involves the procurement of the accessories, consumables, and spare parts. And also we've tried to share with the central medical stores, the catalogs, and which includes the accessories and the spare parts. And what about the technology developers? One of the things that we really ask the technology developers is whether your device category is on the essential device list, because this is something that is being advocated for, that the newborn devices need to be in the priority essential list. And how many devices per facility, so that we don't supply. We have cases whereby the facility purchases devices, there are no consumables, there are no spare parts, and they don't even need those devices in those facilities. And so we really need to check the need analysis per facility, and then we'll be able to procure your device in accordance to what is required per facility. What about in training and installation? So one of the things that we've been able to do as Nest 360, we have been able to develop quite a number of education materials. All the devices that we have donated to our countries, to all the facilities that Nest is supporting, we have been able to develop materials for both biomedical engineers and the clinicians. As you can see here, this is an oxygen concentrator having modules for use, which includes both the troubleshooting and maintenance and even the clinical use together with the user maintenance. So these are used for both pre-service and in-service team. So the people who are actually at the training institutions where we have set up the skills labs are able to use these particular modules to be able to understand the devices. And those ones who are already working in the newborn units are also able to use these particular modules to be able to support the devices in terms of planned preventive maintenance and the corrective maintenance. And some of these have also been included in the biomedical engineering curriculum. And so, as you can see, this is one of the skills labs that we've been able to set up, and these are students an in-service team undergoing trainings on the use of phototherapy and radiant trauma. Now, to the local distributors, one of the things that Nest 360 has been able to do is to identify various local distributors per country. And we have been supported by our distributing partner called Heart Technologies, whereby all the local distributors are supposed to support the various countries where they are in. And just coming to the advocacy and the policy implication of this, there's a lot of standardization of the training materials that we've been able to bring across. We boast about having the skills labs for the in-service and pre-service team. We've been able to advocate for the increase of the staffing levels in the biomedical engineering departments. And we've also been able to really try to define the roles for the private distributors versus the central medical stores for installing and the training of the devices. And again, for the technology developers, one of the things that we're asking is that is your training plan for clinicians and biomedical? Because one most important thing is that these two people are supposed to be trained together. Both biomed and clinicians are supposed to be trained together so that they can be able to speak the same language. Now, going to the maintenance, decommissioning, and disposal, we have been able to maintain the 99% uptime of our devices. And how have we been able to do this? All the biomedical engineers in various facilities where we operate in. We operate in about 68 facilities currently in phase 1. And we have been able to train them and transition the planned preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance to be done by the facility biomeds as opposed to the Nest 360 biomeds. And so as we speak right now, you can actually be able to see these are biomedical engineers undertaking the corrective maintenance and the planned preventive maintenance. And to see the collaboration between the clinicians and the biomed, this is a photo that was taken in one of the facilities in Africa where the biomedical engineering number is actually on the notice board where they are having all their notices so that in the event there's any breakdown, then the biomed will be reached very fast to be able to ensure that the device is sorted. And this has really worked and has improved a lot the uptime and the functionality of the devices that you're having across. Now, the other thing that Nest 360 has done in all the 67 facilities is the provision of the toolbox. It's a very simple thing, but you realize that when the never doctors are employed, they are given stethoscopes to start with. But biomedical engineers, when they're employed, they're not given anything. So what we came up with as Nest 360 is that all the 67 facilities we are working with got a toolbox for them to be able to maintain the devices. And we've also been able to establish a monitoring device called the HALDI monitoring system. This system is able to give us the utilization of the devices. It only shows us whether the device is on or off. So wherever I am, if I'm in Kenya, if I'm in the US, I'm able to know what are the devices that have been off for a long time. And I'm able to follow up with the facilities to know why are we having these devices off? Are they faulty? Do they need any support? And this has also really contributed to our medical devices being up and running. So this is a tracking system that really helps us. And finally, even as I finish on that, what we've been able to really advocate for is to ensure that we really have proper decommissioning procedures of the medical devices, so that whenever a device is really end of life cycle, they can be able to decommission and dispose of in the right way. Of course, we talked about the toolboxes and the workshops and the defined roles of the private distributors and versus the facility biomeds. And so we asked the technology developers, who exactly maintains your device in terms of preventive and corrective maintenance? And summarily, we've really been able to influence the policy development across all the countries where we're operating in, and currently working with various ministries of health to be able to develop the health technology management policies. As I close, there are major gaps that really exist in the newborn care, and especially the health technology management. Even though this is really a big process to strengthen and implement the sick and small newborn care policies, however, the health technology management still lags behind, but we really need a major support to ensure that we accelerate this. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Great job as always, Millicent. Emily, I know there's a lot of questions that have come in on the chat. Any comments you want to make? We're probably in the last 5 to 10 minutes, but we can take a little bit of time.
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Est-ce qu'il y a des remarques pour les francophones par rapport aux 2 dernières présentations qui ont eu lieu? Vous pouvez écrire dans le chat ou dans la boîte questions et réponses.
Maybe while we're looking for that, I know Juan, I think you've been enabled to speak if you want to ask your question now. Juan Manuel. So let's go around the faculty quickly. Any closing comments? Well, let's start with Millicent, who just spoke. Millicent, have you thought of other things you want to add today? Or any faculty member, if you want to speak up, go ahead.
Hi, Tom.
Go ahead, Millicent. I see you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. For me, what I can say is that for the biomedical engineering and health technology management, one of the things that we really need to do is to really strengthen the advocacy. We need to sit on the right table so that we can be able to influence change. Because everything that we have talked about, I believe that they are very familiar problems that have been there since time immemorial. So the only thing that we need to do is to try as much as we can to place ourselves in the right tables, that we can be able to influence the policy making and different changes that we require to be able to empower our profession. Thank you so much, Tom. Over to you.
Other faculty members' comments? Free for all.
Actually, I had a question for Millicent.
Okay.
Which I already wrote in the chat. Millicent, can you maybe remind us in which countries the project Nest 360 was carried out, and with what funding? We saw some of them at the end, but can you talk a little bit about this?
Thank you so much. So we are in 5 countries currently. We are in Kenya, we are in Tanzania, we are in Malawi, we are in Nigeria, and we currently just got into Ethiopia. And so all these countries, the 4 first countries we've been working with for the last 6 years, but Ethiopia, we are starting to work with them. We started to work with them this year. And I actually displayed a number of funders that we have. Some of them are Bill and Melinda Gates, the SIF, the Elmer Foundation, and various philanthropists. So yes, and we are focused on a number of things. Of course, one of them is provision of technologies, and that's why you see me as about medical engineering, having very focused on advocating for the right ways of maintaining the devices that we donate to different facilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dr. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, just to translate, est-ce que, voilà, juste une petite traduction pour ceux qui parlent français. Donc, je posais la question à Mélissa de savoir dans quel pays avait eu lieu le projet qu'elle a présenté. Donc, elle a répondu Kenya, Tanzanie, Malawi, Nigeria depuis 6 ans. Et ils commencent cette année en Éthiopie. Et donc, ils ont des fonds importants hein, qui viennent de grandes fondations philanthropiques. Donc, Fondation Bill et Melinda Gates. Fondation MacArthur. Voilà, et puis ce qu'elle disait aussi juste avant par rapport à sa présentation, c'était que les problèmes qui sont présentés là pendant ce webinaire, tout le monde est très familier avec tous ces problèmes et que ce qu'il faut aujourd'hui, c'est réussir à tous ensemble faire du plaidoyer, se trouver aux bons endroits pour pouvoir faire du plaidoyer pour les professions biomédicales et la gestion et la maintenance biomédicale. Merci.
I was thinking, Dr. Mayombe, did you have other thoughts or comments you wanted to share with what you've been hearing?
Thank you so much, Tom. I think I don't have much to say, but I thank you for organizing this webinar. I think colleagues have learned a lot from our presentations, and I have seen in the chat someone from Haiti. He said that they did the same survey and they got almost the same result. So it means the problems are all the same, but we need to work hard, as Millicent said, how we can come out with good solutions to make sure that we are not only talking about problems, but we are also providing solutions to improve with this health technology management. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Very good. Mladen, would you like to take us home?
Yeah, thanks, Tom, and thank you those who presented, those who have commented. I think it's a great patchwork of work that is ongoing. I think, as you know, with my Pan Africa GCEA hat on, we need to see whether there are common threads, common themes. We also need to push for regional strategies and regional policies that we can take to the politicians, not one-on-one, but perhaps as a region through WHO AFRO. I think there's important work to get there. And on that point, just a reminder once again, for those of you who may have joined late, that there's a special issue of the Global Clinic Engineering Journal that is going to focus on Pan-African issues and especially maintenance. You're all invited to submit your work, your research. If you've done reviews, we invite you to submit. The deadline for submission is January 15th next year, so there's still some time. And Kaliroy ran through the assistance that is provided to you. So it's a very easy process in terms of submitting. So I think it's really a call for us to collaborate also in terms of not only our research, but to stimulate research and to share good lessons, as has just been indicated now, because that's the way we're going to build capacity and strengthen capability in our region. If you've got any questions for me specifically as guest editor of a special issue, I'll post my email address in the chat, and I'll be happy to respond to any queries you may have. Thanks, Tom.
And as many of you can tell that have remained with us here for nearly an hour and a half, that I've put several of the emails of faculty and others of us in the list, and I'll put mine, of course. And anything else from anybody before we disconnect here? Comments are welcome. Well, thanks, everybody. We're not doing this to frustrate. Hopefully, we're building some confidence and finding ways to network together. And we look forward to what's going to happen next year as we work together. Thanks to everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Au revoir.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Bonne journée.
Merci, au revoir.
À bientôt.
Au revoir.
Merci à tout le monde. Merci. Bye.